Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us now for the second segment of our True Talk Thursday podcast. Before we do turn to Dr. Maria Armstrong and Dr. Atiba-Weza, I want to remind you all, if you like what you hear and want to learn more, then tune in next week, Thursday at 7 p.m. or follow us below. We thank you for joining.
Well, the cliffhanger was where, Tai was talking about how the way that education has been exposed and, the things that, not just because of the pandemic, but things that have been happening for quite some time. And, what is the change that we want to be or need to be? Because at the end of the day, the only reason we're on this podcast is because we're talking about the issues that impact or address education, and all issues are centered around kids. What is the effect that it has on kids? And so you mentioned how, even if we can run with the 5 that are there, we've got to pick them up and keep moving. So even in thinking that way, because most people, most teachers, most, folks that are in administration, they do, we're always trying to champion around who needs it to advocate. What do you think needs to happen in our public schools so that we're not just running forward with the 5, but that we're creating systems that don't just cater to the top 10%, but are really rising up all of those that are to the left and to the right? What are your thoughts behind that? Now that we've gone through this, kicking the pants, if you will, that we got to kick something into gear, what would that look like? What are your thoughts around what public schools need to do?
Yeah, I will say I think it happened already because we inaugurated Joe Biden, who is the husband of Dr. Jill Biden. And when you have another educator who is aware and I mean intensely motivated to see a difference made in our Department of Education, I think it starts there, and leadership, teamwork reflects leadership. But you've got to have someone who understands what needs to happen. And that happened to us, thank God, because we had someone who did not get it beforehand. Now, I will give, Betsy this. I think her handling of the pandemic and the importance of actually getting ESSER's funds out immediately was probably the best thing that she did throughout that entire 4-year period. That was amazing. But the rest of her administration, she was absolutely clueless on what happens in Black and brown environments where children, don't understand what it's like to have new shoes, when they come to school hungry, when you've got to, there's an area here in Dallas, and what started my advocacy for students with DISD was, they didn't have bus transportation. It was a school where everybody was being transported via walking in, and, very transient environment with a lot of apartment communities. But the kids, what they had to go through just to get out of their apartment communities with guns, and gangs and everything else, and girls, walking and all kinds of things and ending up pregnant by 12, was absolutely horrible. But if you can't identify with that, you don't know how to fix it. And I think what we have now is an administration, and I will hold them accountable as well, that at least has shown from this onset in the last, 60 plus days, that they get it, that there are some things that need to change, that there are some things that we've got to be very aggressive about, and it's not a community award, because that was the other thing that Betsy did. It's bigger than that, no pats on the back. We need to work hard to make our environments conducive to students. Sorry. No, I'm not sorry, but it's just the truth, and everybody, and that's the other part. We have to be able to receive truth and make it palatable, make it where we want, and it empowers us instead of we try to have a self-examination or condemnation based upon it. Because this is not the time for that. Our kids won't allow us to go through our own grieving process because of what we did not do. It has to be consistent. And if there's a mechanism that you put in place and it's not working perfectly, tweak that and move forward, because our children deserve a right now kind of intervention, whatever that is.
And it's not to make light of that, Superman has come to rescue the day, right? It is really a systemic situation, in that even before the previous administration, we had issues in our system.
Right. Definitely.
And so,
definitely.
and they're not going to go away overnight, particularly if we're not talking about it and moving beyond the rhetoric of it by, putting on hashtag lines that say equity, the E word. Everybody's flaunting it, tossing it, whatever you want, out there. And even, to the point where sometimes I have to scratch my head and think, so now you're going to create a chief of, DEI. Okay. So, and now you're going to create, a program for this and a program for that. And it's like, we've been pounding that drum, that desk, for most of us, our entire careers.
Yeah.
And so the pandemic, I think, and I don't know if you feel this way, Tai, but the pandemic, it lifted the curtain, if you will, for the masses, because, and it's like the teen pregnancy that you called, I'm one of those. That's my story. And nowadays, though, it's happening in somebody else's backyard. They make a reality show out of it.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, until it happens in somebody else's backyard, it's an issue. And so I think that, and I don't know if you feel this way, that you mentioned, it's we can't not recognize that because of the pandemic, it has really exposed everyone in areas that, maybe they thought that their 10% of the kids were doing great. And now they see it at home and thinking, wow, my AP kid, did you really deserve that A?
Yeah.
Because it goes on both sides of that fence, right?
And
And so I think that the conversation, like you said, it's got to be bigger, it's got to be bolder, and it has to start by community. Because if you're going to wait for the magic or whatever to happen up above, we're going to still be in the same place in our communities. And so the communities were you want to call it a sandwich approach or something. Yeah, sure. Legislation, policy, funds, all of that has to happen at this level, because if we rely on the states, there's going to be some states that do, some states that don't. Right. And so those supplemental funds that are really going to catapult or shore up what needs to happen, there's got to be that work at the top. I get that. But there's got to be a lot of work at the community level too, where now I feel, and probably more so, that it's not just what I feel, but as we start to poll our parents, start to poll our communities and get that quantitative data to really start to make a shift or a change, that we maybe will start to see that what we want to happen in public education and have higher numbers of success for our kids. But outside of that, there's got to be opportunity waiting for them outside that door.
Got to be opportunity. I have a friend that runs a coding academy in Kansas City. We've got 15-year-olds that are setting up websites, that are working for big business, making $30,000 a year. That's the kind of line of a trajectory that we've got to be able to see. Kids need hope, and I think when the more affluent communities realize that the problems that are happening in the less affluent communities aren't foreign, they're not foreign. No, they're not the same that you're encountering, as it has been with the pandemic. We don't have food deserts, in the ritzy areas here. But you do have opioid, addictions. You've got an issue that's going to happen. So if we just embrace that there are more things, definitely, that make us alike than make us different, I think that is when we really have more to look on, more to gain from, and more to champion for other people. I love what you said, Maria, because, people think what I love is a great success story. And when one calamity brings you something, it could wipe some people out, or you could take your lemons. Like my thing is always lemonade. It's always lemonade. Whatever it is, we can always do something to make it different. If you are a teen mom, it doesn't mean that has to stop your progress. You don't give up on your hopes or dreams because of it, but you work harder, to make a life now, not only for yourself, but for you and your child, So I think when children see that there's hope, I work with a group, with a volunteer organization, and these are girls from low socioeconomic backgrounds. Every year we take them somewhere, because my thing is I want them to see their greatness. We went into the Capitol here in Texas, and I had one of the little 12-year-olds tell me, I'm going to be the governor of the state of Texas. And I want to let her know you can do it. You can be whatever you choose to be, but you've got to put in the work to do it,
Yeah.
Persevere, work hard. You can do it. It's not so foreign.
You know who's working really hard and who's persevering right now? That is Mr. Atiba-Weza. He's trying to get into question.
I know, right? He's like, these girls.
We're putting the Women in Women's History Month.
As a matter of fact,
there you go. That's my friend. Don't even try it, dude.
I would just sit by.
This is what we do.
As we speak about the
give us more time together, and we wouldn't have this problem. Okay. What's up, Atiba? You're my guy.
I would not crash a Women's History Month party. But as we speak about some of the challenges which we face, and I don't want to assume that I know what women think and how they feel. What are some of the things you think, Tai, that male educators can do to make it better, or make your life as women school leaders, make your journey better, if you will? Remove some of the obstacles that you face, those special things that adversely affect women.
Yeah, I think that is a wonderful question, Atiba, because, it's not complicated. Afford us the opportunity to compete. That's all we want. We want a chance, and that means if I have the same training as you, as a male counterpart, if I am committed, don't assume that you have to be softer with me. Don't assume that I'm waiting for you to give me something. I want to be at the table learning and growing just like the next fellow. And then when it's my turn to come up to bat, let me hit. I don't need a pitch hitter. I got it. Okay. And, I shared my little sign with you guys. This girl can. Girls can, but they just need to be afforded the opportunity and get away from that old boys room, where you think it only has to be a male dominated environment, and that we are softies, because we have families and because we have other demands of our lives. If you can juggle it, so can I. And if I'm willing to make that sacrifice, give me the opportunity to, and pay me for what you want me to do. Pay me for what the position calls for, not for what you think I should have.
Okay.
What else you got, Atiba? Come on.
I'm like, I want to hear more what Atiba got to say on that. Okay.
Right.
Well, we know, as in the beginning, we talked about your title as a board member of the National Alliance of Black School Educators. What do you do there? What are those assignments related to the title that you carry?
Yeah, it's way cool, because it is, I think I really get to live out my career path more with the organization than I do with my actual career, because, with your career, you're kind of like in a box, like you're still working for the demands of customers. With working with NABSE and raising funds, it's not so regimented. You have to be fluid, but I have also found that you have to stick to your guns, because somehow there's a perception that organizations like ALAS and NABSE have less influence, and the contributions that corporate America wants to donate to them are fractions. And I did say fractions of what they give to other organizations that are more mainstream. And the funniest thing in the world to me is for someone to say, well, I'm just going to see what I can do. See what you can do. Come back when you can put me in your budget. Don't see what you can do here.
Thank you.
Register for the conference and attend, because that's good for you.
Yep.
But we don't want your sloppy seconds. What you're going to get at coming to a LASE's conference, as is coming to NABSE's conference, is high-level, committed professional development opportunities for both you and your staff, all the way around. And we are going to have premier speakers and, active engagement for your participants, as we would for anyone, any conference that you would go to. But you want to discount the value of that. But you want to come to us first when you need dollars. And it just doesn't work anymore. So I am very proud of the standard that we have set at NABSE. In my tenure, I think I'm the longest serving corporate person on the board. I've served under now 5 presidents, and I'm very proud of that, because it is not a role. It's so funny. No one ever wanted to be involved in it. And I will tell you, the real funny is this used to be a paid position. And the year that I got appointed to the board, my very first board meeting, they're like, oh yeah, and we're going to pass this new thing, and the corporate representative will no longer be paid. And I was like, yeah. First board meeting, I didn't know, I had no idea. But, it was, a blessing for me, because the networking is phenomenal. Learning my peers in the industry is phenomenal. And then, the meeting of like-minded leadership is phenomenal. So I would do it again for free. But what I will not tolerate is any discount of the organization. And every organization, they want to say that it is minority organizations. Every organization has some drama. Everyone does. They're going to go through something, okay? But it is how you recover from it that really, really matters. So, whether, NABSE has CEU credits or not is not the issue. The issue is, did you show up for the conference? Was it a professional experience? Did you get a professional learning opportunity? Did you network? Did you really garner an additional exposure or experience by being at our conference? And the answer is always going to be yes to that. The same experience that I have at a LAS. Hence the reason I was committed to become part of a LAS. And here's the thing: when you're at a LAS conference, when you're at a NABSE conference, we don't care if you are Black, brown, polka dotted. It does not matter to us. You are there because obviously you have some kind of involvement with our babies, with our students of color. And that is what we want you to know, how to engage with them and how to engage so it does not end in them losing their lives, how to engage with them so they are educated properly. That's what we care about.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. That is the song we sing. That is the song we sing. I don't know if it was last year, if it was this year, Scholastic celebrated 100 years.
Last year, right? Last year, October of 2020. Yeah.
So, that's
cool.
That's pretty phenomenal, right? And I think about, the parallels of institutions. And I'm wondering, I'm super curious. You've been with them for a little bit, and an organization that has that kind of longevity. What have you seen as an evolutionary process that they've used to have that kind of longstanding? And did you see any significant changes that would attribute to that longevity? Because in my mind, I'm wondering, there's the institutions that are ingrained, and this is just how we do it, right? Versus adapt or die, right? And I think about particularly with Scholastic, they've been around for a long time. You've been there for a bit. What have you seen? But before you answer that, it's time to take that break.
All right, come back to it. Yay.
Hey there, and don't forget, if you like what you hear and want to gain some more insight into what school districts are facing now, then tune in every Thursday at 7 p.m. or subscribe below. We thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great night.